Everybody, how y'all doing today? It's Birchmill Video here again, and I just thought of another video since I made the last one, and I figured this one could be how you can save your engine. Now, what brought on this thought was y'all probably don't know, but my personal friends know, like probably Colin and of Colin Julian Vlogs and JT of Prestige Builds. Both of them know that about a year or so ago I had to put a motor in the Titan, if you can believe it, because it's broke down half the time. Well, now it wouldn't be so bad, but it's all aluminum. You know, so, well, the block might be cast iron, but I know the heads are aluminum, and everything else like that's aluminum, you know, pistons and rods and valves and cams and everything like that. It's all aluminum. So now that was the motor that was in it whenever the previous owners owned it, and so most of its life it was, I mean, it wasn't rode hard because my grandma and grandpa had it, but it wasn't regularly maintained. Now, what I mean by this is like not like the oil change and stuff like that. I mean coolant. Now, this is a very big deal with these aluminum motors. What had happened was it had got low on coolant once. One time is all it took, and it was before I got it. Well, it was burning very, very tiny bits of coolant and water whenever I was putting it in the summertime, and it created a hairline fracture in the head gasket, and it was sucking, or that was seeping in the intake and into the cylinder, and it had done it on 2 cylinders on one side. And then it got hot once when I drove it, and did it on the other side as well. And when that happened, it started warming up a few more times, and I guess it ended up doing it to all the cylinders, because it would get to where it wouldn't hardly run. It'd be missing, the coolant would be fouling the plugs out, and it just wouldn't run. And it ended up getting hot one day. I got pissed off and I drove it a few miles down the road to get to the house, and it warped both heads. Both heads were warped, and that obviously made it worse. Then it became undrivable, so I had to put a motor in it. Now, like I said with the other video, this just comes down to regular maintenance. That's all this is about. And if you do regular maintenance, like I said in my other video, you can save your motor. Now, a motor is a lot different from a transmission, obviously, because transmission, all you gotta do is change the filter, change transmission fluid, and you're most likely good. Maybe even change a torque converter on extreme conditions. But the motor, you gotta change the oil. I mean, whenever it's time for an oil change, change it. Because going over doesn't necessarily hurt it, because I go over every now and again 1,000, 1,500 miles. Not very often, but it's whenever I'm not paying attention to it. But you gotta do that, and you gotta check your coolant, especially when it starts getting cold outside in the wintertime, and when it starts getting hot outside. So those in-between seasons where you're in between fall and winter, and in between spring and summer, you need to make sure you're on top of checking that stuff. Because if you're not, you never know, you could be losing some, you know what I mean? And if you lose it and you have an aluminum motor, you're gonna wind up warping a head, and you're gonna be putting a motor in it, or a new head. You know, in my case, the motor was bad enough, it would have been cheaper on me to just put a motor in it. And that's what we did. So $3,000 later, I had me a new motor in it. And I've seen this happen to several people, and I know friends that have seen this happen, and this happened to them. So, like I said, regular maintenance. And this is Birchmill Video, and I think